Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and your business?
Sure thing. My name is Brian Hahn, and I run Spick and Sparkle Cleaners out of um, Tacoma, Washington. It's south of Seattle.
Excellent. So where were you born, grow up? Like, give me a little bit of background info on yourself.
Sure thing. So I was born and raised around like north of Seattle area. Sorry about the background noise, by the way.
That's okay.
And uh, yeah, so born and raised for north of Seattle area for most of my life. Lived in Oregon, Portland area for a little bit, and then moved back up. I've been a Seattle native for the vast majority of my life.
Excellent. As a kid, what were some of your favorite things to do?
I was really into kind of more of the arts, creative stuff, drawing. Not really so much into sports personally, even though I did like doing activities. I just never got really into sports. So that was kind of more, I guess, the way that my brain operated as a kid.
Sure. Did you create your own logo then for your business or
I did,
anything like that?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just use Canva. I've been pretty familiar with those kind of creative arts tools. I ran a YouTube channel before, things like that. So I learned all that stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. Now your parents, let's talk a little bit about them. Were either of them business owners or anybody in your family run a business?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, so my mother worked corporate her whole life, so no. But my father actually ran a home service-based business.
Oh,
And he would
excellent.
do some commercial as well. Yeah, so he did painting, flooring, roofing, and maintenance mostly. And so I would actually go along with him on job sites. I would help him paint sometimes, mostly, or like as I got older, I could help with like roofing and things like that. And so I did have a little bit of hands-on experience with kind of like that independent contractor-ish type of work,
Sure.
and got to see him do it as well. Yeah.
Excellent. When you were younger, did you think, helping out your dad, you wanted to be a business owner, or did you want to go more corporate like your mom? What were your thoughts kind of there growing up?
I definitely did not want to run a service-based business, and not because I hated or thought that what my father did was bad. It was just more his business wasn't really successful on a financial side, and so I actually had some risk aversion initially when it came to the idea of starting a business in my like 20s that I had to like get over because of that, because of what I saw growing up. Um, and so for me, I actually had no idea what I wanted to do growing up for years. And then later I chose corporate because it seemed safe.
Sure. Having that, stability with income and just that structure of a 9 to 5 was more appealing than, you know, not
Perceived
knowing.
stability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perceived, because you never know,
Perceived
right?
stability. Yeah.
So
I mean, you
then
don't.
with what you just said there, not wanting a service-based business, why did you end up starting one?
So I think one, I, I was doing research into different business models online and looking for a way to cash flow quickly on a part-time basis because I do have a full-time job as well, with a high potential for it to become as passive as possible. And so after doing a few weeks of research, I found a lot of stuff on remote home cleaning businesses and the model, and it seemed like a good option, and it was easy to understand. I could wrap my head around how to grow it, how to scale it, etc. Versus, being in tech, you're always thinking about like innovation and like
Right.
starting some crazy new technology and AI and all this stuff. So it's like, starting something like that from scratch is like impossible, right?
Yeah.
Um, or you have to be a genius, versus like, oh, like home cleaning, like this is, I could start this and launch this and start cash flowing in the first month, and so that's why initially it was very appealing.
Excellent. So, how long have you had your business then? When did you start?
Uh, let's see. Technically started in August of 2022, and then had my first customer the following in late August, and then had my first customer in September of the same month. Yeah, or September of the same year.
Okay. And when you started, when you were leading up to it, how much did you have saved up? How much did you initially invest in the business?
Yeah, so I signed up for a course because I wanted to scale pretty quickly versus taking the time to figure it all out myself. And so that was about a 4K investment for the course that I signed up for. Aside from that, in terms of like operational and business expenses, my first month was probably about $500.
Okay. And then what did that go towards?
Things like setting up the LLC, getting a business license in Washington State, just the entire tech stack, including Booking Koala, right? Booking Koala, and I used like OpenPhone for the phone service. I used Google Workspace for getting Google Drive and email. Those are like the business insurance. I got my business insurance through Next Insurance. Um, I got a, virtual address as well for my for the business, and so I got that set up, and the virtual address was like $40 a month, and so yeah.
Excellent. What's your experience and background? Did you go to college for business or major in anything, or did you just take a couple courses, or what's that like?
I did, yeah. So I did a double major in finance and management from University of Washington. It's funny because I like took all these business courses and I don't remember anything at all, really. You know, I do real. It's really. That's not to say that college doesn't have value, especially depending on the kind of job you pick, right? Like if you want to be
Sure.
an accountant, then yeah, like go to college for sure. You know, it's just I never used my degree. I got into technical recruiting for tech startups, which I still do. Actually, that was kind of like the pathway that I ended up on, which has nothing to do with my degree. But having a degree did help set me on that path. And so even today, I still do work for a startup that's based in LA, but it's fully remote. And so I'm living that intense remote lifestyle, I guess.
Excellent. Let's go a little bit more towards your business. Let's talk about your hiring funnel. What does that look like? And what are some of
Mm.
your personal best practices for hiring?
Yeah, you know, so it's funny because I have a ton of experience in hiring, being a recruiter, but hiring for blue collar roles is significantly different than white collar, which I forgot because I had done a little bit of blue collar hiring before, and I forgot the dynamic is completely different. And so I would say probably like 80% of my hiring has been from Indeed. So it's
Okay.
been the easiest way to get the most amount of information from a candidate upfront in terms of resume, qualifications, etc., and to do it completely free, right? And so I would have like 10 job postings open on Indeed in various cities that were close to my service areas at any given time. And so that provided a constant funnel of candidates through that. Uh, I would say in terms of getting either like more specialized care um, would or more specialized resumes would be through like care.com. And the one major advantage for paying for the subscription for care.com is that they do an initial background check on their people. And so not having to go through the trouble of running a background check, because I know that those candidates are already vetted, helps speed up the process in that way. Um, and then just, but I've noticed with care.com that not everyone's always responsive um,
Right.
compared to like Indeed. And then I would do some through Craigslist as well. I got a few solid uh, cleaners through Craigslist, but they don't always respond to everything in the ad. So I'm like, you need to send a resume. If you have a business card, because you have a pre-existing business, send that over. If you have a list of references, and then people just respond, be like, "Hey, I want the job." I feel like you didn't, respond to anything, right? Versus like on Indeed, I'm always getting a resume, otherwise they can't apply. They have to answer the screening questions, etc. And so pros and cons, right? But those
Right.
were probably the three biggest funnels.
So how many Uh, do you have the independent contractor model or do you have the employee model?
Yes, ICs only, and I only did only touch residential.
Okay,
Yeah, I tried doing commercial for a little bit, and I decided to niche down a little bit. So
sure. And how many ICs do you have currently?
uh, I think at the highest amount it was about 12. I think I'm down to 8 right now, and I'm more comfortable with that number actually. Um, I think when I first started, I tried to scale as quickly as possible and gain as many
Sure.
people as possible versus having an emphasis on quality and finding really, really good people. And so this has been like a comfortable sweet spot without feeling like I need to aggressively continue to grow so much.
Perfect. And let's go a little bit into your numbers, if that's okay.
Mhm.
From September to December, what was your revenue there?
In total, from September through December, let's see, right under 20K. And so by
In total,
by
or by
November,
the end of December, was it 20K per month?
sorry, no, that's wrong. I was counting until the end of November, because November was my first 10K month,
Okay.
and so it would be probably about 25K because December was actually slow for us. Yeah.
And then what about this year so far? What are you looking at from January up until, let's say, the end of this month?
Our average revenue is about 8 to 10K each month.
Okay. Excellent. I mean, for your first year, almost first year in business, those are really good numbers. That's a great job. Going into marketing and how you are showing your business to everybody, what are your marketing strategies that are working for you in Seattle and some successful tactics that you have seen that have worked for you?
Uh, the most the most effective ones have been Google My Business and Google LSA for sure. I got pretty because of the amount of reviews that we have and reputation that we've built. It's to the point where we get a reasonable amount of organic uh, calls just for people searching on Google that way. And then Google LSA, we've been able to lower our budget significantly in order to just kind of because the organic reach has increased. And so those are the primary ways. I still do some Facebook outreach on different groups. I usually post weekly on certain groups that I find have been most effective. And then also we have a referral program that we utilize as well. And so those are the main ones.
Excellent. And those groups that you said, the Facebook groups mainly, or are you finding them like Reddit or anything anywhere else?
I found that Facebook groups have the best return. I did try Nextdoor for a little bit, and that was not really effective for in terms of like where our pricing tier is at. Since we I tend to notice that with Nextdoor, it's more of a race to the bottom, and so I wasn't really getting a lot of ROI on marketing initiatives on Nextdoor. But Facebook was Facebook groups, and then also Facebook ads as well. Though I've since lowered that as well because, again, organic reach through Google has expanded.
Excellent. Now, you being less than a year old in the business, what are you doing differently to stand out from your competitors in the Seattle area?
I think the first thing is really going to be just like customer satisfaction is number one. And and so I mean we like initially in terms of the business model that I was taught, it was like no refunds ever. Um, but I was really careful about reputation management, especially in the beginning. A little, there's like more wiggle room now, right? But um, figured like, okay, I really need to protect the reputation, and so I would offer full refunds if a cleaner couldn't go back for some reason, or if the client didn't want the cleaner to go back because either something was missed or there was some issue or some altercation. And so, trying to, I found that giving 100% refunds, even if it seemed like a customer was maybe at some point trying to kind of like get one over on me,
Sure.
um, just not having drama about it. And I've noticed that in terms of reviews, it's really protected them.
Excellent. So are you still try for the most part and not give that initial refund? You're sending cleaners to do a re-clean or a different team to go in and do a re-clean
Hmm.
and then just pay the cleaners but not refund. And then if the customer still is completely unsatisfied, then you're like, okay, I'm calling it, just refund them back.
Exactly. It's the last resort. Or sometimes I'll do a partial one as well, since I'll notice that you kind of feel it out over the phone, right? Like the customer's like, like they did a great job here and here, but they just missed this thing. Then I'll offer like a 25 or 50%. And then I'll notice like they'll be like, "Oh, thanks," like, and that's enough. But you can tell when somebody's really upset or really mad.
Right.
Yeah, and so you just kind of have to feel out the nuance there. And usually that's something where I'd have to jump on versus like my virtual assistant, for example, right? Because some of that nuance is hard to pick up on.
Sure. So you mentioned you have a VA. When did you decide to hire one?
Honestly, for me, it was probably too early. I did it in October, and so that was in the beginning of the second month, cash flowing, right? Uh, it was probably a little too soon, but my initial goal was to get it passive as quickly as possible, and to grow it as fast as possible. So yeah, brought in somebody, found somebody overseas, who pretty good English and very strong operationally, very good at operations. And so he's done a really good job.
Excellent. And what was your, well, you kind of chuckled saying, it was a little too early. Why do you think it was too early? Did you not personally know enough from, you know, just not having enough time in the business and figuring out all the odds and ends, or what? Kind of talk a little bit why you think it was a little too early.
Uh, a mix of those. I think that there was a lot more that I could have understood personally, versus just kind of was hoping that he could pick up on. In addition to that, I think one of the biggest things was, um, because I had brought him on and I was already paying him, and my monthly recurring revenue wasn't that high. It was enough to cover cost, but barely, right? In addition to all the other expenses and everything else at that time. Uh, and so I felt more pressure to give him things to do, which at the time, without having much organic reach yet or a bit or a reputation, meant that I increased my marketing spend significantly so that he would have more to do. And so I created this problem and then I threw money at it. And yeah, it's never a good thing to do. Something that you like know here, but sometimes you just end up doing it. And so,
Right.
yeah.
Well, you caught it on kind of quickly that you knew what you were doing wrong and fixed it. But it seems like from what you've said, you have enough business now for your VA to be comfortable and, handle all the tasks while it's still growing.
Yes, yes. Things have definitely steadied out, and I'm much more comfortable with the current pace that we're going at as well.
Excellent. And do you have a timeline of when you would either start hiring another VA, or are you constantly hiring ICs, or is it kind of like blocked off? Like you want to get X amount of bookings per contractor before you start hiring again.
Yeah, things have steadied out on the hiring side, so I haven't really been bringing anyone on new on this year, save for like January, I think. I think I probably brought on one new person, and that's because I opened up my service area a little bit. Uh, in terms of on the VA side, I actually had two at one point. And I realized that that was unnecessary, actually. And that's because I was trying to increase the amount of time that I had phone coverage. Um, and I thought that that would produce more sales, and it didn't. Uh, I mean, marginally, yes, it did. But in terms of like I think in terms of what I thought was the opportunity that was there, I didn't think it was actually worth it. My, in addition to the training investment that I would have had to put in, which I wasn't ready to do at the time.
Okay, excellent. And now, back in August versus now, how much time were you putting in into the business back then versus now?
Oh, geez. In August, it was probably I was probably doing 40 hours a week. Um,
Oh
and
wow.
it's funny because like when I initially was told about the business, and they're like, "Yeah, you work on it like 2, 3 hours a day." Um, that wasn't the case at all. I don't know if that was just me and me just trying to make things work. And if I just did way more than was required or what, but I put in a massive amount of time initially. Now it's mostly passive, to be honest. I just handle like big customer service issues, or if there's a payment dispute or something like that. But um, since I'm not doing any significant moves into like growing the business like significantly right now, I'm pretty comfortable with the amount of cash flow um, that we have. It, it's mostly passive at this point.
So about a less than an hour a day currently,
Uh,
or
yeah,
like an hour a week?
probably on like less than an hour a day for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
So I mean,
And
I'm doing check-ins with um, a VA and things like that, just making sure things have been taken care of. But that's it.
cool. So end of the day, just a quick email or message saying, how did the day go? Any big things I should worry about? If not, cool. Go on to the next day.
Mhm.
Excellent. And now is this your only business? Because you said you have your corporate 9 to 5, and then this is your passive ec- business. Do you have any other businesses? Do you have any plans on starting another business?
Yeah. I think I have a pretty strong background in affiliate marketing through stuff that I've done with some websites and through YouTube. And one of the reasons why I got into the service-based business initially was because I was kind of like, I'm kind of tired of all this digital marketing stuff. Like, let's do something a little bit more, even though I'm not the one cleaning, but let's do something a little bit, more like a sweaty startup, right? After doing this for a while, I realized that um, digital marketing and affiliate marketing is actually something I'm really good at. Um, and that uh, it's I actually appreciate it more now. So I expect that I'm probably going to be doing some search engine optimization stuff and launching a few websites that way as well. Um, and we'll probably look to sell the cleaning business, in like maybe a year or two.
Okay, excellent. And what's the thought process on selling the cleaning business if it's so passive? Why would you want to get rid of it if it's just extra money and you're, 30 minutes to an hour a day just checking in?
I would say the main thing is focus. Honestly, I think even though it's only that much time, physical time, the amount of mental energy that it takes is significantly higher. Especially if it's a customer service issue,
Sure.
if it's something that happens after hours, which is the worst kind of thing, right? Because my VA is not working, I have to take the call, um, and so I think that's the biggest thing for me, is having that focus piece really down. Um, Versus like on the affiliate marketing side, that generally doesn't happen. And so I think there's also kind of seeing like what kind of business fits well. And so doing the service based business, I've enjoyed certain aspects of it. I like being able to employ independent contractors and work with people. and those kind of things. Those are the things that I really enjoy. But I think because of that, it takes more mental energy to upkeep because you're dealing with people like on a pretty face to face basis, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, and then dealing with customer service issues is a lot of energy as well. And so, yeah, I spent an hour fixing an issue, but it took out the rest of the like my energy for the rest of the day that I could have spent with family or doing another business or something else. And so that's kind of like the thing that I've had to weigh out.
Okay. Well, I guess that kind of answers my next question. Where do you see your business in the next 5 to 10 years? You're hands off sold within the next couple, right?
Hmm. Yeah, likely doing that, and then possibly doing some consulting or helping people launch their own service-based businesses if that's something that they're interested in. And part of this is also just on the affiliate side. I enjoy sharing products that I've used and really enjoy. Booking Koala being one of them, as well as like a lot of the other tech stack that I've used. A lot, a lot of these things I've already shared for free with other business owners that I know who could benefit from like scheduling or payments or other things like that. And so, yeah.
Excellent. So, when you were starting your business in August, were you looking at other software companies? How long have you been with Booking Koala?
The entire time that I've been in business has been with BK, and so, um, you know, I didn't. Be, Booking Koala was the only one that I'd heard of at the time, so that was the one that I just went for. And based off the reputation that it seemed to have, I never heard anything wrong or anything bad. And being able to do payments easily was just like it was like no duh because I don't want to do checks, deal with checks or like
Right.
cash. And so being able to do Stripe integration and make it easy, like right there from the get go, verify if somebody's card is working, all of that. Just, again, like, could I technically save a little bit more money, like by not using Stripe and getting like a few more $100 or $1,000 at the end of the month? Like, yes, but again, like focus and stress management are really important for me. So,
Excellent. And where did you hear about us? Was it YouTube? Was it social media?
yeah, I think it was on Twitter, actually. It
Okay.
was on Twitter. It was, I think, other people who were running the business were sharing their tech stack. And so I started following Booking Koala, and then I looked into it, and it seemed like an easy decision to make, so I purchased it.
Excellent. And then I mean, you already touched on it a little bit, kind of what drew you into using us and kind of why? Is it that seamless integration with Stripe or is it more than that?
Stripe integration is definitely number one for sure. Um, yeah, can you hold on just for 1 second?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I think Stripe integration and payments, I mean, really having like an all-in-one solution to so much easier to communicate with ICs via the app versus having to send I think there was actually a time when like Booking Koala did an upgrade, and so it was down for like a tiny bit, and I had to text all the information over to um, ICs, and it was terrible. It was a terrible experience.
I can imagine.
And so once it was, yeah, and so once everything was back up, I was like, thank God, because like being able to do it all through the app versus texting everything and then having them text back all the pictures and then having to upload it myself manually because they couldn't do that. It was a nightmare. And so having an all-in-one integrate solution like a one-stop shop is priceless in terms of time and simplicity of the operation.
Excellent. So what are I'm gonna assume Stripe is one of them, but what are one to two of your favorite features?
I mean, I Stripe is definitely, yeah. Stripe integration is huge. I think the scheduling piece and just how easy it is for ICs to see once they get a new job on their phone, like that. And then having my agreement set with them so that they have pretty much auto accept unless it's outside of their calendar. Oh, and then also being able to have um, ICs update their calendar so I could just view it easily what their availability is. There was one time where I was uh, doing a temp job, and I hadn't onboarded a new cleaner onto our platform yet, but I needed something done like same day, and so I found somebody, and I didn't onboard them onto BK because they hadn't signed our agreement or anything yet. This was such a bad idea, by the way. And so like I was just texting them back and forth the entire time, and it was just so ridiculous. And then they're like, "Oh, well, like," and it was a multi-day job, and so I was trying to get them scheduled for other days, and they're like, "Well, I can't do those days." I'm like, "Well, send me your schedule," and it was a nightmare. So again, it's having a one-stop shop isn't one feature; it's many features in one, right? But
Right.
that's what made BK so easy to use.
Excellent. So I'm gonna say what's one feature that you use that you can't live without, but I'm just gonna assume that it's the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it really it's the combination of everything working and talking to each other. Like, I don't need to do anything outside of the app aside from messaging. So if I need to message somebody, um, I would say maybe that's the only thing I can think of significantly, like, is I still do text my ICs just via normal conversation, or if I need to ask them a question. But aside from that, everything can just be done in the app. So
There is a messaging feature as well built in for
okay,
you and your providers, so you could also do that as well.
okay. I mean, I've never used it, so that's good to know.
Excellent. And now, what's one feature that we don't have that you wish we did?
Well, I would have said messaging, but you just told me that it's there, so I'll have to look into that. But aside from that, a feature that I wish was there. I wish setting up Stripe integration was easier.
Okay,
Yeah, I've noticed that not just me, but many other peers I know who have run the same business model have always had a really hard time getting Stripe Connect to work. Um, so, I mean, I guess that's not really a feature issue, just more like making something smoother. But yeah, that's the thing that people I know have consistently brought up is how do I get Stripe Connect to work?
sure. We have it in our plans. I don't know, maybe you've seen it already, but we are gonna try potentially to see how we can do straight with your bank, whether it's Chase, BMO, uh, whatever else you use, where it would kind of be like you connecting in your phone, your own personal banking app, straight into Booking Koala and having it like that. That is something we are looking into, as well as making, like you said, Stripe, Square, PayPal, all easier to just, set up your login and then it's connected that way instead of getting the keys.
Mm, okay, yeah, I mean that would be great. Either one of those. So
Excellent. And now, final question. Somebody that's, watching this interview who is in your shoes that you were in, less than a year ago, what are some words of encouragement that you would give them to get started if they're on the fence?
I would say that you learn so much just by trying. And so if you're on the fence about it, uh, just try it out, And I would also encourage somebody like, at least in terms of my experience, this type of business model can cash flow very quickly as long as you're not just trying to throw money at problems. If you're a little frugal with your expenses, and then so even if you end up not liking it, there's probably still upside in you trying. Uh, and so, and really trying it is the best teacher. Like explained earlier, like I remember hardly anything from my business school days, but I remember everything that's happened running this business. So yeah, and I've learned a lot.
Excellent. And you're part of our Facebook community group as well. So if anybody is kind of on the fence, would you agree, join the Facebook group? Everybody is super open with answering any questions, whether you are just starting out or thinking about starting or 10 years down the line. Everybody's always asking questions and nobody is ever out to get you or say, that's a dumb question. Why would you ask that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I probably log in about once a week, more for business related stuff. But if anyone does ask any questions, I would love to try and answer anything. I do believe I'm in the group, unless for some reason I left it, but I should be in there. So
Excellent.
I'll
Brian,
make sure that I'm in there after this call.
perfect. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and we hope that your business continues to grow to that point where you are excited to sell.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.